Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody had a good week. Sunday school attendance for today, we had 30 in attendance and 32 contacts. So we had more contacts than we had people here. Just keep those contacts coming. This morning, I'm only going to ask you one question. If you could ask God one question, what would it be? If you would get an immediate answer right now, and you could ask him one question, what would it be? You don't have to answer. You can mull over that all week if you want to. But I thought about it. I thought about it all week. If I could ask God one question, what would that be? I think my question would be, why me? Why did he do what he did for me? And for that matter, why did he do what he did for the human race, period? I think the answer to that is because he loves us. You know, he loves us that much that he did that for us. So that's it. That's my deep thought for today. Thank you for coming. Please continue to invite people to Sunday school and church.
Okay. Birthdays? No birthdays. Anniversaries? None?
What about Jackson? Did we send to Jackson?
Jackson, we didn't send it. Yes. It was last week. And he wasn't here. Okay, let's sing to Jackson. And he's hiding. He went under the pew. You can hear us anyway, Jackson. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. We love you, Jackson. Okay. All right. Pray for the choirs we sing.
So we lift up holy hands in one accord. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you here this morning. And we want to remind you of some of the announcements. Of course, remind you of the Bible study Wednesday evening at 6:30 over at the Fellowship Hall. If at all possible, we encourage you to be there. Also, Saturday, May the 6th at 12 o'clock over at the Fellowship Hall, the ladies are going to have a luncheon. And so have a guest speaker. The meal is going to be catered. So there's a sign-up sheet in the vestibule. We need the ladies to sign up as well as their guests, how many guests they're bringing, so we can plan with the caterer and so forth. And of course, if you don't think you can make it, you probably wouldn't want to sign up, but just in case Saturday rolls around and you can make it, I'm sure that they can absorb a few and not be able to tell the difference. But we encourage you to go ahead and sign up and get that taken care of. Don't forget when you walk out of here this morning to do that. That's Saturday, this Saturday. Also, this month we have been collecting for the Annie Armstrong Homes Mission. And last year we collected $3,720. And so far, we have $2,440, so we're at least $1,280 short of what we collected last year. So we'll probably go another Sunday or so, but we do encourage you to please pray about what God would have you to give, and then, of course, give it if God needs to supply so that you can give that amount. And so just believe and trust Him. And He'll definitely, if He leads you, He'll supply for you. So don't ever doubt that God can't do it. So just give, and of course, as we all know, missions in North America is, especially in our nation, is very much needed. Also, the May food pantry item is going to be peanut butter or money, as you well know, in the vegetable jar, in the vestibule. So please remember to put it either or both, whichever one is easiest for you. Any other announcements? No? I'm sorry? Choir practice next week. Okay? What do we do now? Congregation. Let's everyone get a hymnal this morning, and everyone stand if you would, please, and let's sing together.
Come on now. Y'all aren't asleep this morning. Let's sing. Down at the cross where my Savior died, down where for cleansing from sin I cried, there to my heart was the blood applied. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. There to my heart was the blood applied. Glory to His name. I am so wondrously saved from sin. Jesus so sweetly abides within. There at the cross where He took me in. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. There to my heart was the blood applied. Glory to His name. Come to this mountain so rich and sweet. Cast thy poor soul at the Savior's feet. Plunge in today and be made complete. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. Glory to His name. There to my heart was the blood applied. Glory to His name. Thank you.
Let's welcome those around you this morning, if you would, please, as the choir comes down. Let's take our Bibles, if you would please, this morning, and let's turn to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 33. Book of Deuteronomy, Jeremy, what are you doing on that side? I don't know. It's according on which side you talk to. You've either moved closer to the Lord or you backslid, just according on which bunch you've talked. Joe said this is a good side. Oh, well, that's what I say. It's going on, but well, there's a lot more on this side than there is this side. Deuteronomy chapter 33. I still hear people turning pages. Deuteronomy's up in the front. Deuteronomy 33, verse, now I've done forgot, 25. Thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. This is a promise made to Asher. Have you ever been given the worst news of your life? Or at least so far? Well, every one of us have. Every one of us have heard what we believed at to this point in our life, what could be the worst news we have ever gotten. Maybe it's the sudden death of a loved one. Or maybe it's been bad news from a doctor that seems to just simply come out of nowhere. And now you look back and you begin to wonder, how in this world did I ever survive that? How in this world did I ever get through it? Well, as God makes this promise to Asher, we want to find out what he has promised and as well as what we can see that we benefit. That God, he tells first of all that he supplies shoes. Now, if you're at home, you have no danger of stepping, or most of the time, on anything sharp, so you go barefooted a lot. You don't worry, or in your socks, you don't worry about wearing good shoes while you're at the house. But if you're out in a rough patch, if you're out in briars, if you're out in the world, if you are living life and it begins to get rough, then you definitely want to put on your shoes. That's what they're for. We find that the shoes God's promised here are made of iron and of brass, which tells us no matter how rough the road may get in our life and in our situation, these shoes are never going to wear out. No matter how sharp the briars may be or the rocks may be, these shoes are able to sustain. And so we find that not only are these shoes never going to wear out, but we find also that these shoes are very heavy. Now, we like shoes mostly because they're light. They feel like sometimes you don't even have any shoes on. But to have to walk through life, as we can imagine, in a pair of shoes that are iron and brass, how it would be weary, how it would drag us down and drag us of all of our strength. And so that is a picture of our everyday life, isn't it? In our everyday life, we're either having a problem, we've either had a problem, or we're going to have a problem. It can be anything under the sun, from a rebellious child to a bankruptcy to a failing health. But He gives us these iron and brass shoes to help us to get through this life. And yes, they do get heavy. Yes, it does get to be a burden sometimes just to take the next step in life. But those shoes are to protect us. You see, if it's God's will and God directs you to go through some difficult times in your life, then He's going to supply the shoes so that you can keep going forward. Not only does He supply the shoes, but He supplies the strength. As your days are, so shall your strength be. As God supplies the need that we have in our Christian life, we know that He does it, as He tells us here, one day at a time. And in fact, it's not just one day at a time, it's one moment at a time. It's not our strength that we're able to make it. Just like when the older we get, the less physical strength that we have. We're unable to do what we used to could do as a young person, young man or young woman. We get tired very easily. But we know that in our own strength, even though it may be failing, as it grows weary, that it's not our strength that He's talking about here to help us to get through those troubles and those heartaches that you may be facing. But it's His strength. And His strength at that moment by moment, that He gives us the strength at that time, whatever the need may be, to move, if nothing else, but 1 inch at a time. Not giant steps, not even a small step, maybe just barely moving, but yet continuously moving forward. Because He has promised to help us to reach our goal, to be what He would have us to be in this life. It's the strength that is promised according to our need at a certain time. As your days are, so shall your strength be. Now, you may be experiencing life at its best right now. It couldn't get any better. You're making good money, you're paying the bills, you're enjoying good health, you're enjoying possibly even a young life, and life just could not be getting any better. But then, who knows what tomorrow holds? In fact, we don't even know what the next hour will hold for us. But whatever that need comes out of nowhere and hits us without knowing it, without ever seeing it coming, or whether seeing it coming or not, when that need, when that burden, when that heartache, when that storm hits, then you can rely on God's promise that when it does, He will supply the strength for you to get through that day. Understand something, that even though you may see a difficulty coming up in your life, you may be having problems, things may be going downhill for you, God is not going to give you this strength in advance. God isn't going to build you up in strength today to take care of a problem tomorrow. It's just exactly like if you were to go home this morning and you would decide, I'm going to eat enough today so that I don't have to eat any more next week, you can't do it. I mean, you could eat everything that you possibly could hold today, thinking that and planning that you're going to go all through next week without eating anything else, but you probably won't make it past lunch tomorrow, and you'll be starving to death again. Or at least you'll think you're starving to death. And God's grace and God's strength, you can't get enough today to last you all week, to last you till this evening, because something may come up in your life that you may need even more strength or greater strength through His grace. You remember the story when Jesus called Peter to come to Him on water? And as Peter stepped out of the boat, he walked on the water going to Jesus. Under whose strength was Peter walking on water? Whose ability was Peter walking on top of the storm and the waves? It wasn't Peter's ability, was it? Peter wasn't holding himself up. Peter wasn't making himself walk on the water. Then who gave him the ability, the strength, the grace to be able to do that, even though he failed? Well, it was the one that bid him to come to Him, wasn't it? Jesus said, Peter, come to me. And Peter stepped out of the boat. And by his faith, God supplied the strength or the ability to be able to walk on top of the water. I read where one has said, the best way to destroy today is to regret yesterday and to worry about tomorrow. There may be someone that is here this morning, you're so caught up in tomorrow and what may happen tomorrow or what's going to happen next week or what may happen in your life. You see a storm coming up in your life and you're so concerned about it that you don't even know you're alive today. You don't recognize today because all of your thoughts are set on tomorrow. Are you going through a rough place in your life? Are you going through a trial or a tribulation, a sickness, a pain, some kind of suffering this morning? What causes hardships? What causes these difficult times in our life? One thing that causes them is just life, isn't it? It's just life. This world is not perfect, and neither is this flesh. And from one day to the next, we don't know what this life holds, do we? We don't know what's going to come with the next sunrise, or even before that with the next sunset. And it's just life. No reason for it. It's just the world that we live in. And then another thing that may cause the hardships that come in our life or that we may be going through is that we cause them ourselves. You're the reason that you're going through the hardship. You know, if you were to go out and buy and buy and buy, and then you couldn't pay and pay and pay, and it would be a difficult time in your life. Who are you going to blame? God? God didn't buy it. God didn't go out and spend all the money. God didn't put you in that position or that place. You put yourself there, right? You know, that's one thing that's wrong with this world today. We won't take responsibility for nothing. It's always somebody else's fault, isn't it? It's not me. Well, you may be going through a difficult time in your life because of yourself and what you've done. But not only that, you may be going through a difficult time because of someone else. Someone else is causing a difficult time in your life. Not anything that you've done, but say you have a rebellious child. That child is causing a difficult time in your life. Maybe someone else is hurting and suffering. Someone that you're close to and you're mindful of. And that causes hurt and pain in your own life, doesn't it? But they're the cause. You just get the results from it. You share in their pain and their difficulty. Life causes these heartaches and difficult times. We ourselves cause these difficult times. And some others may cause us to have difficult times, but there's one, and that is the devil. Jesus told Peter, the devil wishes to sift you like wheat. You don't think you need God. If God were to remove his protection from you as a child of God for one split second, you'd be destroyed. Oh, I could handle it. You think so? You think you could? Do you think you could handle it for 1 second without God's hand of protection on you? God's security on your life? The devil would love to destroy every child of God. He has no love for you. He has no care for you. In fact, he hates you with all that he has. And the quicker he can destroy your life and your testimony, the more he loves it. Because he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about destroying you. He doesn't get any pleasure out of that. He gets pleasure out of hurting God. The more he can hurt God through you, the more he loves it. A lot of times we don't understand the games that we're playing, and we're playing with the devil, but it's hurting God. How many times have we heard, oh, I'm not bothering anybody, I'm not hurting anybody, it's not hurting anybody. Yes, it is too. It may not be hurting you or anybody in this world, but it's hurting your God. The devil may be causing a hardship and a trial in your life. Read the story of old Job. He didn't do anything wrong to deserve, and God wasn't punishing him for all that happened to him. The devil just wanted a stab at him. Let me try to destroy him. But not just that. What the devil was after was trying to get Job to turn against God, wasn't he? And how many times have we had a hardship in our life or trouble in our life, physical, financial, mental, whatever the case may be? And we've looked and we've asked God, where are you? Do you not care? Do you not? I've read where you love me, but I don't think you do. Why would you let me go through this? Why am I battling this battle? And that's just exactly what the devil wants you to think, that God has abandoned you or God is punishing you. It's just like, I could slip up behind you and tap you on the back of the head and then point at somebody else. That's him. He's always pointing you to God. God is the one that caused it. But then again, also God causes hardships to come in our life. Times of testing in our life. And they come in various forms, but a lot of times God will let those things come in our life. And why does He do it? Well, He doesn't do it just because He doesn't like you or He doesn't love you. He doesn't do it just because He hadn't got anything else to do. Everything that God does, He does with a purpose. Every hardship that has come in your life has come in your life for a purpose. Number one, God lets hardships come in our life to get our attention. Think about it. Suffering, heartache, pain, hardship gets your attention. Does it not? It gets your attention. In fact, it'll get your attention so much you can't even sleep at night. You don't want to eat anymore. It's on your mind 24/7. It's all you think about. God gets your attention. I shouldn't be this way, but there's been times that, and I could tell you stories that I've come across some people and they're going through hardship after hardship, and I've never done it, but I wanted to walk up to them and say, hey, has God got your attention yet? Now that'd be very rude of me. But let me ask you something this morning. Has God got your attention yet? Well, you know what? If He hasn't gotten your attention yet, you know what He'll do? He'll turn up the hardship. You think it's hard on you right now? You just wait. Keep ignoring God. Keep putting Him on the back shelf. And He will get your attention. He'll set your barley fields on fire for you because He knows where your heart is. Watch your excuses. Careful about your excuses for not serving God and not being what God would have you to be, because God can get rid of your excuses. I've heard parents say, well, you know, we would come to church, but the kids just, and I'm thinking, please don't say that. How foolish could you be? You want God to take that child? Don't be ignorant. For goodness sakes, don't blame it on the children when you're the parent. Watch your excuses, because God can put an end to your excuses. For goodness sake, don't say I don't come because of the preacher, or I'm not coming because of the preacher, because God can get rid of me. He can pull my plug at any time, pick something else. Don't use an excuse on God because He knows. You know, I don't know the difference. Sometimes I can put two and two together and realize somebody's telling a lie here. I'm not totally ignorant. But when you say things, I don't know the difference. You can fool me. You can fool everybody here. But there's one fella you're not going to pull the wool out over his eyes. He knows every thought. He knows every action. And he knows every intent. You could say, well, you know, I would, but I've got to do this. And it may be a good excuse. But in your heart, you're saying, well, I just don't want to. God sees the, well, I just don't want to. He doesn't hear what you have to say. God will get your attention. And the intent, God knows better than the excuse you give. And be careful. Be careful. Please be careful. Because God will remove your excuse. And He'll do that to get your attention. He causes these hardships to come in our life to bring us to Him. To get us, draw us closer to Him. And isn't that what hardships do? Sometimes that's the only time we really pray is when we're going through a difficult time, isn't it? The only time we ever hear from the kids is when they want something, right? The only time you hear from those good old friends is when they want something, right? The only time God hears from us is when we want something from Him. We never give Him a thank you. We never give Him a praise. We never give Him the honor that He deserves. Honestly, we treat Him like dirt. We treat Him as though He's nothing. You see, God brings a hardship in our life to remove whatever it is between you and Him. Whatever is keeping you away from Him, He will bring a hardship in order to get rid of whatever that is between you and Him. And thirdly, to root out a sin that you may have in your life. Any of you ever been whipped as a child? Done something wrong, and you got your hide tore up because of it. Now, some of you may have got a whipping because you didn't do anything right, but you just really didn't do anything wrong. But you just really didn't do anything when you were supposed to have. But you get whippings for doing wrong and not doing what you were told. And if you're a child of God, He's going to discipline you. I dare to think that probably every child of God here this morning has had some kind of spanking from God in one form or another. But it got our attention, didn't it? How can you ignore a parent when they're beating you all over? You can't. And when God causes chastisement to come in our life as a child of God to get or to root that sin out of our life, you cannot ignore it. He gets your attention, and He'll do whatever He has to do to get your attention. God is not going to take second place to anything. As we said, the longer you hold on to that sin, the rougher it's going to get. And then God, of course, always lets us go through these hardships to teach us something. Look back on the most difficult day of your life, the worst news you've ever heard, something that just absolutely destroyed you. Look back and imagine, how in the world did you survive it? How in the world did you get through it? He's teaching you something. He's teaching you He's faithful. You know how you got through it? As your days are, or as your days, so shall your strength be. That's how you survived. He's faithful. He's proved that He is loving. He has proved to you that while you were going through that hardship, that He was there, that He didn't abandon you. He's teaching you something. He's teaching you that you can depend on Him when everything else and everybody else fails you. You can trust Him. Trust Him. You know, that's usually the last straw, isn't it, in our life? We'll handle it up to the point we can't handle it anymore, and then we want God to take over from that point. But He says, as your day goes, which is every day of your life, for the rest of your life, as your day goes, so will the strength that God supplies. It'll match it. That's how you've made it so far. That's why you're here today. And He also has difficulties to come in your life to teach you and to help you to grow, to be more like Him, to be more mature. I just love it when it gets aggravating, but I just love it when these young people think they know everything. You know, they've got all the answers. They've got it all figured out. Poor ignorant little bunch don't even know the difference between a boy and a girl, and they're going to tell me they know more than I do. And worse than that, some of them think they're animals. They're going to tell me I'm ignorant? Whew. If it wasn't for the difficult times in your life, you'd still be a baby. But physically, as you grew with knots, scrapes, cuts, burns. You learn. You learn when you jump that high or jump down from such a height, you can't handle it. It hurts. When you try to do some of those tricks, you can't handle it. It hurts. And that's the reason you don't see any older people doing anything ignorant like that. They've done learned. They've done tried it somewhere. And they figured out it hurts. They've matured. They've grown up. A baby learning to walk bumps its head, front, back, side, hurts, bruises. But that's what it takes in order to be able to walk, right? Unless you want mama to carry you for the rest of your life. Growing up hurts. As young people, no doubt the pain was financial. You were physically fit. You were great. But there was times in your life as a young person or a young married couple that you really went through physical or really went through financial troubles. But you learned from it. I can remember my dad giving me instructions. This is what he said you've got to do. And you know, with everything, but especially being in construction, it's either feast or famine, you know. Either you're making all kinds of money, you can't spend it fast enough, or you're not making a penny. And the instructions he gave me, and I keep telling my kids this, but they won't listen. He said, and I don't guess I did either, he said, you got to get on the bottom, and you got to stay there. Get on the bottom. Don't wait till the bottom drops out from under you. Boy, that hurts, doesn't it? That hurts when you go from a good amount of money or paycheck and to losing it, not having any. That drop hurts. When you go from eating high on the hog every night to go to eating cheese sandwiches every night, that's a drop, and that hurts. His instructions were, get on the bottom and stay there. And I tell my kids, get on the bottom and stay there. That way, if you get $100 this week, don't go blow it. Stay on the bottom. Life teaches you those things. You learn from them. You mature from them. And God causes hardships to come in our life to teach us those things. To trust Him, to depend on Him. He's never going to fail us. He's never going to leave us. And to get us to grow up. That's a part of growing up, isn't it? Hardships will either destroy you or they'll develop you. It's just according on how you react to them. Let's stand as they come with an invitational song this morning, and as we sing a verse of invitation,